Okay, we're going to move on to our final topic of the night. Now, this is something that it's a show that I've been watching. I didn't get into it right away. I know Sabrina's been watching it too. I know Mike has some insight on this too. But his Dark Materials just had finale came out right before the holidays. We finished watching it, so I wanted to talk about it a little bit. I really think as I was watching this show, I was really excited for this new season. And it built up and it built up and it built up to this big battle with Heaven and everyone else going against him because they want to take down. I'm gonna say one thing though, the main guy who's not God, is not Megatron. His name's almost Megatron, but what's it called?
Metatron. Yeah. Metatron and the Authority, right? I haven't even seen season 3.
I was hoping that they would have gotten a bigger.
How did you know Metatron if you didn't see season 3?
He read the book.
Because well, I did read the book, but also I spent the pandemic doing something useful. I finished up a degree in religious history that focused on a lot of the kind of
that does not sound useful at all.
It's completely unuseful. I don't use it at all. And in terms of personal edification, beautiful. I can see all kinds of really interesting things in art and history and pull them out. Specifically with these Phil Pullman books. Because he was a professor of Gnosticism and Western esotericism at like Cambridge or Oxbridge, some really massive institution over in England. So when I read that trilogy, probably, I'm trying to think, I probably would have been 15 years old, so more than 20 years ago. I think that series really kind of pushed me in that direction to question, what constitutes authority, what constitutes legitimate authority, like what's the value of a human, and what are the capabilities that we have in the world. And I think that his Dark Materials really addresses a lot of those really basic questions. So Brian, did you say that did the 3rd season start yet? I watched the first 2 seasons and I thought it was freaking great.
Yeah, it just finished actually. So we just saw the finale, and it just seemed like it was. I guess the last episode was just like it felt like a big long epilogue. Mm-hmm. And I thought maybe we could have just made that shorter and put it on the finale because there's that big epic battle,
Dude, super controversial. I had no idea what they were gonna do with like it's. I can't imagine a story that tells a more like. I don't know, challenging narrative to general audiences, really.
And when you go into it, like if you haven't read the books, you don't really realize they're going that way. Because I had no idea. And as it kept developing, and they're like, oh, now she's Eve, and now you have Will is pretty much Adam. Yeah.
I forgot about that.
And they're playing around with that whole breakdown of their relationship, and then they pretty much go to Eden, and it's like paradise, and it's they have to be together in the paradise and be together so that they can fix the world. And it's really playing off of the authority, of course, like Adam and Eve, the serpent. Eve gives into it and it destroys her life as she knew it. So they're doing the same thing here, but it's like taking down God pretty much. And they need to take God down.
It's not God. It's a pretender to the throne, right?
He's not God, though. Yeah. He's not really God. He's like God, but they don't even say where God actually is anymore. Like God's gone, I guess.
I think that there is no God.
Do you think there's never a God then? So that feels like, to me, it seems like there was a God at one point. That's what I kind of read into it when I was watching. There was a God at one point, and now this guy was a man. And then he turned into an angel and then took over. So is he like Michael the Archangel? Did he actually take God down and he became the new God?
We can get into a talk about Gnosticism, but it will take much longer than we have in this format. If you want me to give you a real quick breakdown, and this is all very specific to what Philip Pullman wrote about and what he studies, is that existence starts as kind of an unformed void. They call it Sophia in different traditions. It's got different names in different traditions. And then there are layers of emanations, like an onion. And it's kind of like a Buddhist cosmology of different layers. But so from the human layer, there's attributes, characteristics. You've got a personal kind of God. But further up, you have a more remote, distant God without any kind of attributes at all. So I think that Philip Pullman is alluding to that more naturalistic conception of God that would exist behind something like a human institution, the magisterium in this case, right, which is an
Yeah.
obvious reference to the church, the Catholic Church,
100%.
or just big authority institutions. People that say, okay, well, we've got a best way to live, and Philip Pullman, and part of this tradition is like, well, you really can't prove to me that your way of life is better. It's something that I'm going to need to find out for myself. So it asks a lot of questions and really does a lot of tearing down. And I think that that's why that's such a controversial kind of storyline to tell.
Yeah, and to tell in this epic kind of sci-fi way too. It's just really twisted. Like it's almost like Star Wars sometimes, but especially like Azrael's ship itself is like you haven't seen this season. I don't think it was in season 2, was it? I don't know if it was. It's like it's crazy, and he's like ripping through different dimensions.
Looks like a Star Wars ship.
It looks like he looks like he's Obi-Wan Kenobi,
Craft.
just taking off, But he rips through different universes after he kills Roger, And then he makes this rift and he opens his way up. I know, poor Roger. They go to the land of the dead, and that whole thing is very depressing. That they're playing off religion. It's like, well, you go to heaven or hell. Well, nope, there is no heaven or hell. There's just this ever-long purgatory where you go into self-doubt and you lose yourself. It's like it's really depressing. And then they have to go there and save them.
It's about the human faculty of imagination, right, Brian? Like they're showing you lots of colors, spaceship kind of things, just because they're trying to make the point that the world that we can inhabit is the world that we create in our minds, and that it's contingent upon us to dream our future into reality, right? And to do that collectively in a way that's inclusive and helpful to each other, rather than binding and dividing just to be whatever is efficient to your power structure.
Binding and dividing, that's no world we live in, right?
Man.
Sabrina, what do you think about the season, or the ending, I should say, or maybe even just season 3 in general, or the whole show? Like, how do you feel? What's your lasting impression after finishing the show?
Thanks for that super vague question.
I gotta love it. Give us some.
I really enjoyed the show as a whole. There were episodes that I was like, oh, that was stupid, or other episodes that I thought were really good. I really enjoyed Lin-Manuel Miranda a lot. He was one of I looked forward to seeing him. I did not like the character, her parents, both of them. I didn't really care for them. They were both giant assholes. And so that was very annoying for me, because I was like, this bitch, like all the time, she's lying and fucking twisting and like just manipulating. And I just was like, what a horrible, horrible person. And I also don't like that actress. We call her Muppet Face. I don't know what her real name is. Ruth Wilson. Horrible human. Horrible human being. I know someone who worked with her, and she actually is a horrible human being. So that's fun.
Maybe that's why she plays it so well.
She plays it so well.
She does play it really well, but she's also a See You Next Tuesday in real life. So, I mean, maybe that's where she draws from. However, like whenever I would see her face, I'd be like, oh, I just want to slap you. But I mean, that's really the effect that they're going for. And Azrael is also a prick. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of, but everyone else, like all the people she meets along the way, like Yurik the bear and like Poe,
amazing.
Like, I mean, everyone is so awesome. Like even when that guy Will showed up, I was like, ugh, I don't even want to care about this kid. Like it's so annoying. But now, I grew to love him as well. The last season was good. I was, really interested into where they were going. I felt like there were episodes that were kind of detached from the story itself, because there were like 3 kind of stories going on at once. I don't really want to give too much away. But there was like the teacher's story, and then there was Will and Lyra's story, and then there was Muppet Face and Azrael's story. And so I feel like some episodes I was much more interested than others. My dog is going nuts because fireworks are going off. Peppy! Sorry. So I overall enjoyed it. Like Brian said, the last episode does really feel more like an epilogue. And it definitely tugs at the heartstrings, but it was like, I don't know if we needed like an hour-long wrap-up, like after that huge epic battle and finding out what happened there. Like it was just kind of slow, and like I feel like they could have just really made the battle part episode, like that second to last episode, longer and then this episode shorter and, broke it into 2. I think it would have been more effective that way personally, because I don't know what I was expecting after that huge battle, but it certainly wasn't what I saw.
I know. I was like, wait, there's another episode? I remember I watched it and I thought I watched the finale. And I was like, wait, there's another episode? And it really is one drawn-on epilogue. And, of course, it felt like at the end of Lord of the Rings where you kept having more endings. That's what it kind of felt like. We're not done yet. And then, where are they going to end this, actually? And then when it did end, I was like, okay. Then it's like, she might be back. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're not coming out with a fourth season. I can tell you that much.
No, this is it. They said they were done. That's it, and it wraps it up very nicely, like the battle itself. And then Azrael tries to become like a better person towards her, but it's too far gone at that point. You treat your daughter like shit forever, and now you can be like, it
had nothing to do with her. It only had to do with the greater good. He could care less about her.
Yep.
He could care less about her
until he knew that she was important to the greater good. He didn't care about her.
But he didn't care about her anyway. He just, if Eve was someone else and not his kid, he would have cared about them exactly the amount of same that he cared about. He could give a shit less that was his child.
There's even a moment where he thinks she's dead, or Muppet Face, I guess, thinks that she's dead, and tells him, and then he's just like, meh. Cool.
He's like doing something, and he's like,
I'm working on my ship. Don't worry about that shit.
Their parents, they are like the most awful characters.
They're
like
so awful.
They really don't appear to give a shit, which is hateful. Like, you clearly got this brilliant kid.
Yeah. And the CG, the computer graphics is amazing. All the different demons look so great. And then when Will has a cat, I'm like, damn, he gets a cat? I would be pissed. Like, everybody has like these cool animals, and I get a cat? Okay.
I haven't even seen any of it, man. I was really interested to see how they were going to bring season 3 into reality, because
you gotta watch
it begins off with these crazy animals with their wheels. Like, I'm not going to buy that when you CG that shit. And then the end, like, how do you even, like, there's the big battle, but then, like you guys are saying, they pretty much just devolve into symbols of humanity. Like, it reveals the fact that it's been a meta narrative all along. Like, so I enjoy that kind of trippy shit. I mean, She-Hulk was playing around with that same idea from a comedic angle.
I'll tell you what, they make those animals with the wheels. I bought it all day.
Really? That blows my mind. They must have put a lot of work into that.
It really, they were gorgeous. It looked great. The wheels were C-pods that they would like put on their feet and kind of skate around in. It was really, they did a really good job with that.
Yeah, they kind of look like Snuffleupagus to me. Like Snuffleupagus.
They did look like Snuffleupagus.
That's exactly how they describe them in the novels. But I remember reading the novels 20 years ago and trying to visualize this in my head and being like, man, this is crazy. When they do the TV adaptation of this shit, how are they gonna make this believable at all?
They did a good job.
Yeah, Sabrina, that's great. I'm so super happy they pulled it off.
And the way that they're showing their language is really kind of cool too. It shows it in their language and it kind of converts it to English, and then the character,
there's subtitles when they talk.
Yeah,
because they talk. Obviously,
and the teacher ends up being the serpent, who I call Mrs. Ferguson, my high school drama teacher.
Our high school drama teacher.
Yeah, Mike knows her very well. You hers as well. I showed Sabrina a picture, and she was like, "That doesn't look like her." I'm like, "Yeah, it does. That's Mrs. Ferguson all day. Miss Ferguson trying to save the world."
You know who he's talking about, Mike? He's talking about the teacher from second season.
Totally. Miss Ferguson. Yeah, all day.
Miss Ferguson, the curly hair.
She does not look like Mrs. Ferguson.
Yeah.
Mrs. Ferguson.
I saw that picture. You ain't got to lie, Craig. You ain't got to lie.
We saw her in life. We saw her beautiful face in real life, and how she transmitted the love of drama and artistic expression.
She looks more like Susan Sarandon to me.
Here's a shout out to Mrs. Ferguson.
A shout out to Mrs. Ferguson, right on.
All right. Well, I love it. Everyone, if you haven't seen his Dark Materials, check it out. My brother Kyle told me to watch it. And I was like, I got into it, and Sabrina loved it. I loved it. Mike, you have to watch the last season. You have to check it out.
Yeah, I'm really excited. That's next on the queue.
They do a great job. My one critique though is like that last episode could have been wrapped into the episode before. But I guess after this whole long epic show, you want to give it a final ending of all this closure. But I was a little bored in the last episode. But
I'm happy. Like it was weird. It was weird in the book. Like the whole rest, they did a really truthful adaptation of the book. They hit every beat. They were doing it. So I'm not surprised that it ended weirdly, because the book is weird.